Okay, so here's the density simulation for those of you who weren't able to get it to work. Just remember right here, we're going to pretend that that just says grams instead of kg. And this over here says milliliters, like that. Okay. So the first question is asking, like, does volume, like these are all the same volume, does volume by itself tell you if it's going to sink or float? So I'm not going to answer that question. I'm just going to throw things in, and you will answer that question. Okay. Next up, 1b, it's asking you if you notice a relationship between the mass and the volume for the things that sink. So these two sink. What do you notice about the mass versus the volume of these two? That's what's asking for 1b. These float. What do you notice about the mass versus the volume? Because remember, to get the volume, you have to dunk it. Don't let it float. Okay, so again, what do you notice about the mass? Okay, so the mass versus the volume of the ones that end up floating. All right, now for density, you need the mass and you need the volume. Now these all have the same volume, so they're all going to be the same size, you'll see. So it goes from 100 to 105. All right, moving on to question number 2. Question number 2, we've changed it up. Now you'll notice they're different sizes, but they all have the same weight. They all weigh the same. Does how heavy it is, tell you if it's going to sink or float? Again, they're all the same weight. So that's super important right there. Again, when people say, oh, it's heavy, it's going to sink, like, pay attention. Look, they're all the same weight. Okay, they are all the same weight. Does the weight determine whether it's going to sink or float? Same question for 2b. What do you notice about the weight versus the volume? So again, I'm going to start off with this one, the yellow one. Look. So look at the weight, but that's the volume. What do you notice about those? See, that floats. All right, what about this one? I'm not going to do all of them. Okay. Look at the volume. Okay, now look at the weight. What do you notice about the relationship between this and this? And don't say they're different. I know that. All right, now to calculate density, you're going to need, you have the mass, now you need the volume. So I'm going to start dunking them in. Next up is a yellow. And you have to show work for the blue block. All right, last one. These all have the same density. Does density tell you if it's going to sink or float? Now they all have the same density. All right, does density tell you if it's going to sink or float? Because they all have the same density. Last one, 3b, is just asking you to calculate density. So you need weight and you're going to need volume. And this button says same density, so your answer should be the same for all of them.